electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans, considering the COVID-19 outbreak, and any rule conflicting with governor's executive order permitting electronic meetings be suspended. Can I get a second?
I second.
Hey, Judy, can you do the polling, and if you say present and yes, you're helping us understand you're actually here, and then you approve the motion.
Yes. So Jeff Gibson.
Present, yes.
Mark Overlock.
Present, yes.
Mary Catherine Rand.
Present and yes.
Sure.
Present and yes.
Bill Conley.
Present and yes.
All right. Motion carries. Welcome you all. Hope everyone's doing okay. Y'all take a look at the real brief agenda, see if it makes sense to you, or if you want to add anything or delete anything. Hearing silence, I'm going to assume everybody approves. So we'll move right into this. Thanks to all y'all's brainstorming a couple weeks ago. It's been 2 weeks or 1 week. I was able to work with Judy to put together a series of bullet points, some of the effects for the Homeless Impact Division, and then the Metro Health Department. We got that bullet point in there. So Judy helped condense this. Then I did a revision yesterday. If you've got that document in front of you, the first paragraph is just a note to ourselves. And my suggestion for your consideration is that we can certainly edit these bullet points, add more as we think of them in the next couple weeks. But once we sort of get the bullet points listed, I'm thinking this is sort of the outline for our little PSA, public service announcement, if that makes sense. And that what we would do is once we get that drafted,
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
Sorry, somebody's trying to get your attention. I'm not sure who it was.
Okay.
Let's see, Vicky is mouthing.
Vicky, you're muted, I believe, or we can't hear you.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Vicky, you back on? Vicky, can you hear us?
Looks like Mary Catherine we may have lost her too.
Mary Catherine, can you hear me now?
We can't hear you, Mary Catherine.
I can't read Vicky's note.
I can't either. You may have to sign back on, Vicky. May have to sign out.
I think she's mouthing that she can't hear Mark.
Can't hear Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's strange because I can.
Yeah, I can too.
It's one of my ongoing nightmares that people don't listen to me. So, Vicky, you may have to sign back on, log out and sign back on. Looks like she may be trying to do that. Anyway, while waiting for Vicky, do you all have any just little edits or thoughts on what we've produced so far? And we'll catch Vicky up when she signs back on.
Yeah, Mark, I appreciate you putting together this draft. I can edit stuff to death, so I just wanted to put that out there that I have that tendency. I took your draft and made some edits to it.
Okay.
But really take it or leave it. And I did it pretty quickly this morning, so I already see some typos in my edits. But I sent you a track change version 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes ago, right before the meeting started. And it's just I don't know if it really improves things, but
Hear me.
We hear you.
Yeah.
No, I'm liking it. What I'm going to suggest that if you all will give me permission, what I'll do is I'll work from your draft, Will. And so I'm a big believer, and this may happen to you, Jeff, in law school. They sort of pound into your head active voice. And so it's really helpful because it just makes your writing more powerful. So it actually looks to me, Will, like you were doing that for us also. So I like just some preliminary changes. I'm going to suggest that if anybody else wants to offer some red lines. So, Will, did you just send it to me or did you send it to the group?
I think I sent it to the group. Yeah.
Okay. So if you all will sorry, Will, I'm using your name again. If you guys take a look at Will's copy as a baseline document, offer any edits, send them to Judy, and then she can send them to me, and I'll try to pull together sort of a final document, if you will, and then she can send it back out to the group. Sorry, this is welcome to the Sunshine Laws and the whole thing. So we sort of have to work. It's very cumbersome, but this is also the reason we don't have a government that operates in secret. If that makes sense. So, Will, I haven't obviously had a chance to look at all your edits, but anybody that likes to edit, I love it. So I've written 3 suspense novels, and I think I've sold 20 of them on Amazon. I can write a suspense novel in 2 months, but then it takes me 6 months to edit it. Because when you're doing creative writing, you got to shut off the left side of your brain, which is all about law school. Very hard to do. And then you need the right side of your brain to do the creative stuff. Then you got to turn the left side of the brain back on, do the edits. So to make the story make sense. So I'm doing a lot of talking. Does that all sound good to everybody?
Yes. The thing that I didn't address in there was like the room in the end bullet point. You may just want to like add something about like how like cutting those services like affects like the ability for folks to like survive basically and meet basic needs. Like kind of connect the day center and guest house to survival or basic needs, because it doesn't really. Some people may not know what those services are, and how helpful they are.
It's really smart because all we're saying is, we're telling them is how much money, which there's no story. So I'm an old fundraiser. You got to tell a story. So I'm glad you said that. I've got that as a note. Vicki, we did try to capture a little bit of your the public safety concept, but I'm not sure. Judy, do you have access to that kind of? I'm not sure how to amplify the idea of safety. So for homeless people that have been rapidly rehoused, if they are not in a Belle Meade, for example, neighborhood, what are we wanting to add statistics to that, or how do we amplify that? And maybe Vicki, you can help us a little bit think that through.
I think that when you put safety and the homeless together in an article, just my experience from what I've gotten feedback from the contributor is that it gives people the perception that homeless people are going to attack you. And we don't want that. So when I was thinking about going through and doing an article about this, that was one of the things that I kind of crossed off and I was going to kind of get away from.
Got it. That's really smart. So can I assign you the task of working with Judy to try to come up with a bullet point on what you were describing? And I completely agree. Oh my God, it's homeless people in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, and it's sort of like your point, Jeff, which I never would have thought of, that the ambiguity involved in sort of fighting the tax referendum, because it's actually going to cost people more for rent. And it's like, I'm so glad we sort of thought of that. But so is that okay, Vicki? We can assign you that task, work with Judy, and then
Absolutely, because I'm more into the balanced article. I want to be able to show both sides of it. But I wanted to run it through this committee first before I do. I'm actually got some free time this week to where I can start working on it. So I'll go ahead and run it by at the next meeting and go from there.
So my thought is write more. Don't worry about self-editing so much. In other words, we'll help with the edits. So don't leave anything out. Does that make sense?
Keep my hands off of it. Yep.
So even if you come up with a whole page of stuff, it'll give us, pearls of wisdom. And so Maya Angelou, you may have heard the story when she did the poetry reading when Bill Clinton was first inaugurated. I saw an interview with her with Oprah Winfrey, and Oprah said, "How'd you do it?" And so Maya said, "Well, I wrote about 100 pages." And then I found little pearls that I was able to condense into a poem. So that's what I want to say. Jeff, I look like you were going to say something.
You muted, Jeff.
I had to reboot to hear anybody, so he may have to reboot too.
Sorry, Jeff, you're going to have to reboot. Mary Catherine Rand, we can't hear you either. Who's in charge? Is this Metro in charge of this thing?
That was cute. I like that.
We love Metro. They actually do a great job.
They do.
Okay, is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes, Jeff.
Okay. So a few thoughts and questions. First of all, I'm happy to beef up the Rumini Inn bullet point on what those services mean for the community and for the people who are served. Okay. I have a question about those three bullet points: the SOAR, Centerstone, and Rumini Inn. Is that I mean, if this referendum passes, is the termination of these grant programs a done deal, or is that something that's likely to happen given a reconfiguration of overall expenditures? I mean, I just want to be careful about how definitive we are if there's some question about what the actual impacts would be.
Yeah.
Anyone, and Judy, maybe that's a question for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead. Sorry, Judy.
Can you all hear me, because I'm having some?
Yes.
Okay, good. So at the last time this came up, it was based on that those grants were already notified to be cut.
They were. Okay.
Bloomington is a special situation this year because they have been pulled out of. They're getting ESG funds and COVID funds this year, and not Metro funds to have that grant. But I think we need to assume, because for years they've been direct appropriations from the mayor's office, that after COVID they will receive that back, and so that's why I would include that. It's not a done deal. I mean, right now we don't know what's going to happen, but I just would, the assumption is that it is. The other thing I want to point out to everybody is this is also an opportunity to, when we looked at the document that we received from the mayor's office about the tax impact, when you looked at homelessness, it was very, very vague and what the impact is. So this is an opportunity to also educate the mayor's office what the impact would be on homelessness. So I would recommend that you look at it perspective too.
No, that makes sense, Judy. I wonder if, and I'm happy to suggest some different language, but I wonder if instead of saying the following grant programs will terminate, maybe we can say, the following grant programs are, very likely to be terminated, or something that doesn't solidify. I'm just a little leery of putting out a position that then somehow paints us into a corner if this were to come to pass. If we don't know for certain that those programs would be affected. So I may take a stab at trying to hedge a bit on that language, and you guys can tell me whether you like it or not. The last thing I wanted to say.
What about?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well,
I had something about the language. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Judy, and then because my last point is more of an overarching point.
Okay, yeah. On the language, what about if these programs were to be cut? Here is the consequences. Kind of that leaves it up to, it doesn't make they're going to be cut or not. It's just if they're considered, if this referendum, based on what we know at the last round of referendums, these programs were in danger of being cut. If they were to be cut, here are the consequences. That type of language.
Yeah, I'll work on that language to intimate that it is a very likely scenario based on what we learned from the last referendum. So I'll take a stab at revising that.
Thank you, Jeff.
So the other thing I was going to say is I think we need, and Mark, maybe you're thinking here, which I often do in legal writing, is your thinking was to kind of lay out the specifics before you then circle back to the general. But I do think this needs a really strong introductory paragraph or two to kind of set the stage. And so
I'm feeling your energy. Take a stab at it.
Yeah, and so I'm happy to draft some type of introductory, and I often write like that, so I suspect that's what you were doing here. Is a lot of times I'll nail the specifics down before I get to the kind of the introductory roadmap. So I'm happy to take a stab at that.
Thank you.
Can y'all hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Welcome to the meeting.
There comes the charm. So I'm curious about, so that one of the first documents that was sent out from the mayor's office that had very vague info about how it could affect other populations. And now hearing Judy's comment about we might need to educate them on some of that stuff, and that's why it was so vague. Just curious how much you guys kind of want to get into that piece of it. Just, we have these bullet points about SOAR and how that would impact kind of that subpopulation. So I'm just curious about how important it is to kind of detail how it might affect veterans who are homeless or in need of housing, survivors of domestic violence who are homeless in need of housing, I don't know what else, youth and young adults possibly. So just wanted to bring that up.
That's really smart. So glad you brought that up. Yeah, we've excluded those. So, Mary Catherine. You know where I'm going with this?
Yep. So I've already reached out to the Office of Family Safety to start to get some information about how it would impact those services, because that's what I know best.
Yeah.
And then I'm happy to go wherever else the committee wants to. I do think veterans would obviously be very important. And then I don't know what else y'all think. Kind of what other subpopulations that are going to intersect and be affected.
Domestic violence is so important. So everything, I'm sure you guys are hearing the same thing I am, and that is with the COVID and all the people stuck at home, domestic violence rates are just going through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's really scary. So yeah, any of those dimensions you can add, and I'm so glad you thought of those populations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll just start working and gathering, and then we can kind of discuss and see what we need to add as we go, if that works. Okay.
That's fantastic.
That works. Thank you.
I was very surprised about the domestic violence piece, because that was not mentioned in that outline. And when I reached out to the Office of Family Safety, they said that if, the tax referendum went through, they would possibly have to completely shut down the Jane Crow Advocacy Center, which is a court-based center. I'm like, that's so incredibly huge. How is that not even kind of part of the bullet point? So, I'm in the field and I was shocked by that. So,
nothing personal against the mayor, or whoever put this together, but I'm even seeing things about the commute times and traffic. But of course, we passed this transportation bill now just last night. So I want to see more. Again, no offense against the mayor, more truth to these bullet points. I'm putting myself on mute.
So I appreciate that perspective. My guess, and I'm not trying to defend anybody, is that some of these documents were put together in a real rush. And I know in our General Hospital, we've got silos. So sometimes I'm doing things that a department head needs to know about, and I'm just clueless. So that's why I'm glad we have this brain trust here to help. And I think Judy sort of raised that point too, Vicki, that some of what we're going to be doing, frankly, is educating the mayor's office. So to your points. So thank you.
Well, and I think Vicki,
And also,
your point's also well taken in that I think we benefit here from sticking to the real tangible impacts on the constituency we're concerned with, as opposed to speaking in generalities about larger impacts on the city that may or may not happen. But I think it's a great thing for us to remember.
yes, and to focus on Mark's comments, just look at it as an internal document. It's very helpful to us to see where we can, and that's kind of where I came from. It's like where we can educate the mayor's office a little bit more. I think that was shared with Mark kind of also in trust in that sense. It's not a secret document or anything by all means, but it wouldn't be a flushed out document. It's just bullet points. But it really shows where we can help, pay attention. And Mary Catherine, I'm absolutely shocked at, that they would have to shut down. Yes, that's very important to include.
Any other thoughts from this brilliant brain trust? I love you all. You're wonderful. I think I'm really proud of us. I think we've got several assignments here. And I think from, really now I'm realizing this doc is about 30% done, maybe 25% done. There's a lot more work and a lot more great stuff that we're going to get to put in it. It sort of reminds me, Mary Catherine Rand, I guess, and frankly, you, Jeff, y'all do fundraising. So one of the rules of fundraising for an organization is you want to come up with a case statement, which is, 50, 60 pages long. And then you go to these big potential donors and you say, here's our draft case statement. Do you see anything that we forgot to add? And you're trying to get those big donors invested in the project. Well, you didn't say this. So I'm thinking that, that's what we've got here is we're actually growing something that's going to be useful. And frankly, we may be able to use pieces of it to deploy for different audiences. In other words, it's not just, it certainly can be one public service announcement, but we may be able to help the Homelessness Planning Council tailor some messaging depending on the need, if that makes sense. So I'm thinking in this case, more, now not less is more, but more is better. If we are able to keep some of these ideas and text sections for later use. Does that make sense? I don't want to lose the genius of this.
I think that's right, Mark, and thank you for taking the original, the initial stab at this, because I think getting something down is a critical first step, and you've laid a great groundwork here, and I think we can build it out. I think pretty easily into something that we can be proud of. Same.
And I think just the most that we can, just kind of piggybacking on what you're saying, Mark, about, you know, the more that we can really tell a story without literally telling a story and just showing the impact, you know, on those that we serve. I mean, that's why we're doing this, right? That's the whole goal. So I think the details will help with that, hopefully. And then Vicki, I had a thought. This is likely something that you were thinking about for your article, but I'm just wondering, with MNPD, just some data behind that, like with budget cuts. So how many officers would they be cutting? And then where would that, I mean, you know, I think that, you know, the new captain is really trying to build all of this community policing and have some really exciting ideas, and just how would that impact all of that work, you know, just with budget cuts.
And that's a good point.
And he's already putting stuff in place.
Yep.
So.
And I've got somebody that can get those stats for me. So I'll go ahead and get work on that this morning.
Glad you two both just said that, because I think we also don't want to forget that there are positions that they would like to fill or create that would then disappear, not just current position cuts. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Wow. I feel like we've accomplished something.
Yes.
So, of course, we can meet for an hour. We've met for 30 minutes. Do you all feel like we've got our assignments and we can sort of rock and roll and provide everybody the gift of time?
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Can I be annoying, though, and extend it to like 2 minutes? And this might just be Judy. I might need Judy's help, but could you like distill like where we are with this referendum so that I can speak to it? Someone is like, isn't that off the table now? Like, why are you even talking about it anymore? You know, like, do you mind just reminding me like where we are, kind of?
So,
yes, I actually. Go ahead, Mark. You may know, and
you may have more inside intel. So this attorney Jim Roberts, you know, I haven't read anything in the Tennessean in a couple of weeks, but from what I understand, I think I mentioned this in our first meeting. What I understood was he was busy tailoring the next referendum draft to get by the court's objections. Does that make sense? So I'm anticipating it's going to be filed again. But Judy, you may have more insight on this than I am.
I'm backing you up. I checked with the mayor's office. As you know, our liaison is on maternity leave, so I'm directly communicating with Kristen Wilson. I told her about this referendum task force. She really encouraged this type of work and confirmed that the attorney Roberts is actually, what you just said, is actually working on another draft.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that's all I need. Thank you.
Well, you're never annoying. Thank you. Let me just say, I really appreciate everybody on this ad hoc committee, because nobody's being silent. I'm only concerned about people that aren't speaking. And so what I always have to do is sort of tease them out. I'll say, you know, still waters run deep. What are we missing? And I feel like everybody's telling us what we're missing. So thank you. Let me express my gratitude.
Thank you, Mike.
And thanks for getting off mute, y'all. Having to sign back in.
All right.
I want to make sure we thank Brandon, our host with Metro IT. That's an important job. So thank you, Brandon. I don't know if you can hear us. So are we okay with moving towards adjournment, but picking another meeting date?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Ordinarily, I'd say the next 2 weeks, but I'm guessing, should we shoot for early January?
No, before then.
Before then.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But you know what? I can put something together in an article and send it out, and so we wouldn't have to meet.
I'm actually okay trying to do the 30th. I'm off the next 2 weeks starting Saturday, but I'm happy to.
Okay.
This only takes an hour, so. But I wanted to poll the group. What are y'all doing for the holidays? Am I invited?
No, we're all on lockdown here.
And in any other year, you would be, Mark.
I can pass Christmas dinner in a basket and put it down to the ground, with a little pulley and all for you. I'm okay with the 30th.
Jeff, Mary Catherine, Will.
I can do the 30th, or first week of January.
Judy.
I'm trying to pull up my calendar, but it looks good. I know.
I'm going to be tentative. I'm just going to say tentative, and I can, break the sunshine rules and respond via email. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to have kids. Like, my kids are out of school now until the end of the year, so it's like a juggling act right now, even more. And I'm lucky that they were even in school to begin with. But anyway, I'm going to be busy that day and that whole week with them, so it's going to be just kind of iffy the whole time.
So, Vicki, you had the idea. I don't want to interfere with family time. This is real precious. So, Vicki, you had the idea of you were going to do some work. We're all going to do some work. Let's share it with Judy, and then keep working that way. Does that make sense?
That does.
As long as we're communicating with only Judy. Does that make sense? So we're not violating sunshine. So then we would move to January 5th. Does that look okay for you all? Or 6th, I'm sorry. The 6th. Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works for me.
That works great for me.
Judy?
Yes.
Mary Catherine, did I hear you say yes? Okay,
yes.
cool. All right, great. So Wednesday the 6th, 8:30 to 9:30.
Okay.
So anything else for the good of the group other than wishing everybody happy holidays and thank you. So I'm going to,
Thank
if
you.
someone would move to adjourn, I'll be happy to second, and then the vote is you sign off.
So moved.
I'll second. Thank you all.